Hey everybody, welcome back to Monday Marriage Moment. Actually, it's welcome us back to Monday Marriage Moment because we were gone last week. Spent 7 days at our cabin in the mountains, disconnected from the world, so it sure was good. But it's good to be back here with you. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. I'm Jason. This is my wife, Renee. We are not marriage experts. We're not marriage counselors. However, we do believe in the value of investing in marriage, and we want to invest in yours. Ephesians 5 tells us to honor marriage, lift it up, exalt it, make it important. So that's what we're doing with these videos. And we are literally in the middle of this book right here, Your Time-Starved Marriage. We're looking at just one of the big killers of marriage is just how busy we are as people. And not to try to avoid being busy because I'm not sure we can, but to make the most of our time and to recognize where we can make time for our marriage.
Yeah.
So today's chapter is really cool. It's called Time Bandits. These are really five things that are probably kind of hidden under the radar, something you don't normally think about, that are probably taking time from your marriage. At least one of these, maybe two, maybe all of them could be stealing time from your marriage. And so we're going to look at them and then talk a little bit about how to defeat the time bandits. So you want to talk to us about what they are, what it means? You want to start us off?
Yeah, so we're going to go through all five of them. The first one, when we were talking about this, we decided this is probably the biggest one, most important. I would not have thought of this just thinking of a list of things that steal our time, but I think it's huge, and I think it does take our time away, and it's unfinished business. It's regret, pain, guilt from the past. It doesn't have to be, but it could be, if you're in a new marriage, a new relationship, and you had a painful past from another marriage that was failed, and if you have not dealt with that hurt and dealt with that issue, you're going to bring that right into this marriage, and it's going to take a lot of time from you.
They use the phrase unfinished business instead of using the word the past because they reference this thing called the Zeigarnik effect, which is really interesting. Your brain remembers incomplete tasks and activities and projects better than it remembers finished projects, finished things. In other words, if you've got something in your life that's unfinished, your brain literally cannot stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
Once it's finished, once you've got some resolution, once it's over, then your brain files it away and starts to think about something else. So if you've got some unresolved issues from a previous relationship or some unfinished business in your current relationship that you haven't confronted yet, your mind is, without you knowing it, stealing time from your marriage by focusing on everything in the past, everything that used to happen. So you can't be present in the moment, which is what we talked about last week or 2 weeks ago. Is being present in the moment, but if you have unfinished business, you're always looking over your shoulder, you can't be in the moment.
Yeah, and so this can be a really personal one, as far as maybe it's just one spouse that is dealing with some hurt from the past or needing to heal from something that's happened. And it could even be what they saw in their home with the marriage as they were growing up. With their parents or their grandparents. Could be something like that they need to overcome and change their mindset. So he asks at the end of this little section, maybe it's, do you need to ask somebody to forgive you for something? Do you need to forgive something that someone has done to you? And if it's something very significant, you might need to have some counseling to help you heal the hurt, because when we bring a hurt into a marriage, it's always going to affect the marriage.
Right. He closes this section by saying regret or dwelling on your past at best distracts you, at worst it devastates you.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the most significant time killers that you don't really think about, but it's something we all have to be aware of, is that we have unfinished business. It keeps us in the past. We have to deal with it.
Yeah.
The second one we've talked a lot about.
Yes, and we experienced this past week.
True. I mean, think about that.
Stepping away from technology. That technology can be such a time stealer, especially in today's world where we have so much at our fingertips, phone, iPad, TV, movies. And he said, it's not bad. It's a great thing. It's actually makes us very productive, where we can work at home, we can work in the car, we can work everywhere we go, we can do things and stay connected. But we found out, being able to unplug this past week completely from everything electronic, it just sets your mind in a different place, and
It does.
you talk to each other and you look at each other,
Right.
and you think about things, and you can relax. You have a lot more time when you don't have all the technology.
We were up at the cabin, and in order to talk to anybody, you have to drive 45 minutes or so to get to a little town where you can get some signal. And there was one day when we were there when the atmospheric conditions were just right, and you happened to turn on your phone, and oh my gosh, we're getting text messages. And you turned on mine for some stupid reason. So now both of our phones are on in this safe, sacred place, and text messages are pouring in, and I literally screamed
You did.
like a little girl. No! Technology is a great thing, and I love it. I love my technology. But it can be something that steals your time away. Certainly your attention
Yeah.
from your marriage.
This is true with parent-child relationship, but this is very true in a marriage.
Right, for sure.
So I just had written down, and they really didn't talk about this in that part, but for us, we have realized, and we've gotten away from a little bit of this that we probably need to come back to, but finding times when you can just put your screens down
Yep.
once a day, once a week, once a month, once a year. So this family vacation that we took, where we have to kind of unplug, is our once a year thing, where we know we're not going to have our screens, and it's actually something that we look forward to.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I think you could be very intentional, like date night. You could just have a rule.
No
We're not
screens.
taking our screens. We're not going to look at our screens. We're actually going to talk when we have dinner or whatever. We used to have that rule with our kids.
Yep.
When
No
you came to
phones
the
at the
dinner
table.
table, no phones.
Yeah.
We had a place you could put them or whatever. It's important.
So 2 time killers: the past, unfinished business, technology. Let's hurry and get to this next one.
Okay.
Go real fast.
Yeah, it's impatience.
See what I did? Oh, because the third one is being impatient. What does that mean? How is impatience something that steals time from your marriage?
Well, they talked about in this section people that it gives off this feeling of you're just annoyed by anything that
I'm in such a hurry.
yeah.
I want what I want. And when I don't get it immediately, it annoys me.
And if I'm needing to ask something or whatever, that it's just an annoyance to
Right.
you.
Right.
That's that impatient part. And I think this is where, we've talked about one of the key things about a marriage is just taking out the rush, get rid of rush and hurry. And I think, I'm sure it's some personalities they have more tendency to go to this impatient place, or if you have the kind of career where you are rushing all the time in your career, and then you just automatically come home and do that too here
Right.
at home. I think it's just going to require some intentionality to stop having impatience with your spouse.
I think part of that also is to stop expecting your spouse to always run at your pace. When the scripture talks about love is patient, that literally means that if you love someone, you are willing to abandon your pace to walk at their pace. Sometimes that means you have to speed up, sometimes it means you have to slow down, but to be patient literally means to not expect the people you love to always walk at your pace, that you would stop and walk at theirs, whatever pace that is. And so when we are impatient with each other, we are expecting our spouse to be like us, to act like us, to move like us, to think like us. And more than likely, your spouse doesn't in any of those ways. So that's what being patient means.
And I think when we do show that patience, when we're able to do that, which, not everybody's perfect and we have times when we slip up, but when we try to do that, it creates intimacy in our marriage. But in the same way, when we are being impatient, it is stealing intimacy from our marriage.
I think about being patient is something that I have had to learn over the years. But when you learn how to be patient, it's a skill you can learn. When you learn it, you make better decisions. A good example is we've known for maybe a year now that we needed to replace our truck because it's been dying, and we've just been investing money in this dying thing to keep it alive. And so we've known we needed a new truck, but we didn't a year ago. The moment we noticed that, just start rushing to do something about it, and it took us a year. And we finally figured out what we're going to do. We found this great deal on exactly what we wanted. It's not a new truck, but it's new to us. But I don't think we would have had that, and we both felt at ease about it because we were patient. We didn't rush into something. Same thing with this crazy house we're living in.
Yeah.
It took us 16 years to be able to buy a house. And we didn't rush into one where we could have. We could have rushed into some things, but we just decided to be patient. So I think patience helps you make better decisions, live with fewer regrets, and creates intimacy in your relationship. So it's something you really have to strive for. You have to try and work and develop the skill.
Yeah, for sure. And they mentioned a funny part in this section about the Seinfeld show.
Serenity now!
That he was supposed to use that as a calming
Right,
technique.
you're supposed to say serenity now and take a deep breath and check out of the moment for a second and then gather yourself. But I want serenity now is what he was saying.
Yeah, because he was trying to be more patient and trying to be more calm.
And we just tipped our head at how old we are. Nobody watching this knows who Seinfeld is.
Maybe. Maybe some do.
Maybe, if they watch reruns.
Yeah.
The 1, 2, 3, fourth thing is interesting. I like it.
It's the clock.
The clock.
So
like literally a clock.
Literally a clock, yes. Like, it talked about how some people, maybe they don't even realize they do this, but they let time control them.
Yes.
That was something about our vacation that I loved, because my job requires that I watch the time fairly closely because of our schedule, to the minute. And so the clock at the cabin had run out of battery, and there were 2 other little clocks sitting around, and I just closed them so I couldn't see them, because I just wanted to have a week of not being controlled by what time it was and when I had to be somewhere.
Sleep when you're tired, eat when you're hungry.
Yeah, it was really nice. It's good to unplug from that, kind of the same as the technology.
Yeah. I think that when it comes to the clock, you have 2 choices. It can control you or you can control it. And one of the best things you can do for your marriage is learn how to create margin, specifically when it comes to time. One of the reasons I am pathologically early to everything, like yesterday we had this thing at church that was supposed to start at 5. I was there about 3:45. Mike and Aaron had already been there and set everything up. But when I do that, I created a little over an hour of margin time. I didn't have to do anything during that time, but I was able to do anything that needed to get done. Carry out some chairs, visit with Mike about the technology. Just creating margin makes you own the clock instead of the clock owning you.
Right. I was thinking, whenever I read that part of the book, I thought about something that you started doing several years ago, and it wasn't anything that we even talked about. But, when we go somewhere and we have to be somewhere and we're riding together in the car, you usually have to wait for me to be ready, and you don't like to be late. In fact, you like to be early.
It's pathological. It really is.
I know, yeah. And you were intentional, and you didn't say anything to me about it. You just stopped saying anything about, trying to rush me to get ready. We're going to be late. Do you know what time it is? And you did that because you loved me and you didn't want to push me in that way. And I'm not late to everything, but I may not be an hour early. So we kind of had to make some adjustments there, but that was a gift to me that you just stopped saying anything, and when I was ready to go, then you were glad, and you just make yourself busy doing something else while you're waiting for me. And I did something for you. I don't know if you even noticed, but I've started telling you, give me I need 10 more minutes, and then I'll be ready, so that you have an idea of what we're doing. And I think that shows respect for both of us to do that for each other. And something else that he said in this part that I love, that I'm not very good at, so I really want to work on this. They said, linger over your latte sometimes.
I like that.
When you're so busy and you have your routine, and sometimes if you just feel that little nudge of, let's just linger here and hang out for just a little bit longer.
When we lived in Roswell, I worked with a guy. His name was Gary. Maybe you know Gary. Gary was a great guy. And we had a large staff, and sometimes somebody would be late or somebody would not have managed their time well enough up to this moment when we were gathering or meeting, and so they weren't ready. And he had this statement that he made all the time. He would say, lack of preparation on your part does not constitute an emergency for me. And the more I think about him saying that, what he was saying is, look, you didn't manage your time well. I'm not going to let that affect the way I manage my time.
Right.
And that doesn't have anything to do with marriage. What it's saying is you get to manage time, and you can either feel the tyranny of the urgent moments, or you can eliminate them by choosing to use the moments prior to that to be prepared, to be ready, to do whatever it takes to own the clock so it doesn't own you.
Right. It's huge.
One more time killer.
Yeah, we've talked about this one before.
Mm-hmm.
And it mostly pertains to people with kids.
Right, but it can be for empty nesters too,
Yeah.
and it just keeps coming up. Just like technology keeps coming up and keeps coming up, so does this one.
Because it's such an adversary to a marriage.
And it's so easy it's a trap easy to fall into.
Yeah. So it's overactivity. Getting yourself in over your head in so many things, and then something else comes up and you think it's important, and so you try to fit that in too.
Try to do all of it.
Yeah. So I can remember when all the kids were still at home, we made a calendar, a big calendar, so that we could see where everybody was going to be and what everybody was doing. And you know, if you get all that on a calendar and you realize this is insane what we are trying to do, it's too much and it's hurting our marriage and it's hurting our family, you might have to make some decisions about what you can let go.
I want to read a quote from this chapter. He says, I don't know who's writing this. I'm always saying he. It's either Les or Leslie. So one of them said, nowhere is it written that to be a good parent, you have to sign your children up for everything and spend all your free time shuttling them around and attending each and every event. But there is this cultural thing that tells us you have to sign your kids up for everything and every event and do whatever you can to make sure they're there.
Yeah.
Might be the best thing in the world for you to teach your kids how to say no to some things, because not all things are equally important.
Right, and you have to say no to some good things.
Yep.
So that is something that you have to learn, sometimes by mistake. I think it would be good as a couple for you if you can look at your whole schedule for your family and think about what can you drop, what can you let go of. And if it's a family thing and you do have kids at home, you know, we used to have a family meeting every once in a while, and it was just so that everybody was together and we could talk about, you know, this is hurting our family. We can't do all this. We can't afford for everybody to be in every activity. So we made them choose. They had to have one or two things that they could do, and we gave it our all for that because it was important to them, but we had to all be on the same page together. And I think it was good for us to model that to them, that we can't do everything.
Can't do it all.
Yeah.
So let's think about these 5 things: unfinished business, technology, impatience, the clock, and overactivity. You might be tempted to think, well, those are out of my control. You know, I have a schedule. This is the way I am. This is just how things are. But the truth is that you and your spouse, you are the sole gatekeepers of these 5 things. It's really your choices that determine whether or not these things will steal your time.
Yeah.
On their own, they won't steal your time. When you allow them to, they do. They
And
will wreck your marriage.
over a long period of time, making changes with this could make a huge difference.
It adds up.
Yeah.
It adds up big time. All right. Well, that is the chapter on time bandits. We will get to section 3 of this book. It says 3 time mines where you are sure to strike gold. Time mines, where to find and mine time in your relationship. So I hope you'll join us for that. Thanks for taking a part on this video. We'd love it if you would like this video. Give us a thumbs up. We'd love it if you'd comment. The comments are super, super helpful. And if you're not subscribed to our channel, we would love that too. That really helps us. We appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time to join us. We love you guys, and we love your marriage. See you later.